Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my video, please click the like button and share the video. It is the only way the YouTube algorithms really notices me. I will be very grateful to you. The Mental Mirror. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1. The Discovery. Alex adjusted the focus on his camera, capturing the golden hues of the sunset over the Mississippi River. Photography had become his sanctuary, a way to lose himself and escape the weight of his guilt. It had been a year since the accident that changed everything, but the memories were still fresh, haunting his every thought. As the light faded, Alex packed up his gear and wandered aimlessly through the downtown streets. He found himself drawn to a flea market that sprung up every Friday night. The market was a chaotic jumble of vendors selling everything from vintage records to old furniture. The air was filled with the scent of roasted peanuts and hot dogs, mingling with the distant sounds of a street performer strumming a guitar. Near the back of the market, Alex's eyes were caught by a small, cluttered booth. It was crammed with antiques and curiosities, but one item stood out, an ornate mirror with an intricately carved wooden frame. The design was unlike anything he had ever seen, with swirling patterns that seemed almost alive under the dim market lights. Despite its age, the mirror gleamed with a strange, inviting glow. "Quite the piece, isn't it?" The voice startled Alex. He turned to see an old man with piercing blue eyes and a knowing smile. "Came from an old plantation down south. Some say it's haunted." Alex chuckled, but the man's words sent a shiver down his spine. "How much?" he asked, unable to tear his gaze away from the mirror. The old man named a price, and Alex handed over the money, feeling an odd mix of excitement and dread as he carried the mirror back to his apartment. Once home, Alex propped the mirror against the wall in his living room. He stepped back to take a look, and for a moment, all he saw was his own reflection, disheveled hair, tired eyes, the shadow of guilt etched deeply into his face. But then, something flickered in the glass. A face, contorted in a silent scream, appeared behind his reflection. Alex blinked, his heart pounding in his chest, but the image was gone. He moved closer, staring intently, but all he saw was his own bewildered expression staring back. He shook his head, trying to dismiss it as a trick of the light. Yet, as he turned away, a chill ran down his spine. The memory of that fleeting image clung to him, filling him with a sense of unease. He lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, unable to shake the feeling that he had brought something sinister into his life. The mirror seemed to pulse with a dark energy, promising secrets and horrors that would soon unfold. Chapter 2. Haunting Reflections. The following morning, Alex awoke with a start, the vivid image from the night before still fresh in his mind. He shook it off, convincing himself it was just a dream. The mirror stood in the corner, its ornate frame catching the morning light in an almost inviting manner. Determined to resume his normal routine, Alex grabbed his camera and headed out for a walk. But the day felt off. People he passed on the street seemed to move in slow motion, their faces blurring at the edges. The once vibrant city now felt like a ghost town. Despite his best efforts to focus on his photography, Alex's thoughts kept drifting back to the mirror. That night, Alex couldn't resist the urge to look into it again. This time, the images were clearer, more haunting. He saw flashes of his past moments he had buried deep within his mind. The accident that had claimed his best friend's life played out in agonizing detail. He saw himself behind the wheel, the terror in his eyes, and the devastating crash. Alex stumbled back, his heart racing, his breath coming in short gasps. The mirror had shown him his worst nightmare, a memory he had spent a year trying to forget. He couldn't sleep, every creak and shadow in his apartment amplified by his heightened anxiety. When he finally did drift off, his dreams were plagued by the same horrific scenes. Determined to understand what was happening, Alex dove into researching the mirror's origins. He scoured the internet, visited libraries, and even talked to local historians. The more he dug, the more disturbing the stories became. The mirror had a dark history linked to a series of tragic events and eerie occurrences. It had once belonged to a plantation owner who dabbled in dark rituals, and it was said that the mirror had witnessed unspeakable horrors. As Alex delved deeper, he discovered local legends about cursed objects that could trap and torment the souls of those who gazed into them. The mirror, it seemed, was one such object. The more he learned, the more the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. His visions weren't random. They were tied to the mirror's dark past and its ability to amplify his deepest fears. The psychological toll was immense. Alex started questioning his sanity. Were the visions real, or was he losing his mind? The line between reality and nightmare blurred. The once comforting walls of his apartment now felt like a prison, with the mirror at its center, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of his consciousness. Determined to break free from the mirror's grip, Alex knew he had to confront his fears head-on. But the mirror was not just a reflection of his past. It was a portal to his deepest, most buried horrors. And as he would soon discover, escaping its hold would be far more difficult than he ever imagined. Chapter 4. The Mirror's Influence Grows. The historian's office was dimly lit, filled with dusty books and relics of the past. Sarah and Alex sat across from the elderly man, their desperation palpable. "I've seen objects like this before," the historian said, examining the photograph of the mirror that Alex had brought. "They carry dark energy, feeding off the fears and guilt of their owners. You must be very careful." As they left the office, a heavy sense of dread settled over Alex. His hope for an easy solution had faded, replaced by a chilling certainty that the mirror's influence was far from over. Back in his apartment, the atmosphere had changed. The air felt heavier, and shadows seemed to dance at the edge of his vision. It started with small things, lights flickering, doors creaking open on their own, objects moving just out of place. But soon, the disturbances escalated. One night, as Alex lay in bed, he heard a faint whisper. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but the voice grew louder, more insistent. He sat up, heart pounding, and saw the mirror's surface rippling as if disturbed by an unseen hand. A shadowy figure emerged from the glass, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Alex screamed, scrambling back, but the apparition vanished as quickly as it appeared. The next day, Sarah arrived to find Alex's apartment in disarray. Books were strewn across the floor, picture frames shattered, and the mirror stood ominously intact amidst the chaos. "Alex, what happened?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "It's the mirror," Alex whispered, his eyes wide with terror. "It's getting stronger. I don't know how to stop it." Despite Sarah's attempts to comfort him, Alex felt increasingly isolated. His friends began to distance themselves, wary of his erratic behavior and the strange occurrences surrounding him. Even Sarah, his steadfast ally, seemed to waver, her own fear growing with each passing day. As the mirror's influence grew, Alex's mental state deteriorated. He saw shadows moving independently, heard whispers that gnawed at his sanity, and felt an ever-present sense of dread. His apartment, once a haven, had become a prison. The mirror's malevolent power seeped into every corner, leaving him no place to hide. Determined to fight back, Alex attempted to destroy the mirror. He grabbed a hammer and swung with all his might, but the glass remained unscathed. Instead, the mirror seemed to mock him, reflecting his anguished expression back at him with a twisted smile. In his growing paranoia, Alex withdrew further from the world. He stopped going to work, avoided friends and family, and spent his days and nights consumed by the mirror's dark presence. The boundary between reality and nightmare blurred, and Alex felt himself slipping into madness. Sarah, fearing for her friend's life, made one last plea. "Alex, we need help. You can't do this alone. Let's find someone who can break this curse." But Alex, now a shadow of his former self, could barely muster the strength to respond. The mirror had taken hold of his mind, and the fight to reclaim his sanity was becoming a battle he wasn't sure he could win. The terror that began with a single reflection now threatened to consume everything Alex held dear. As the mirror's influence grew, so did the darkness, creeping ever closer, ready to claim him as its next victim. Chapter 5. Desperate Measures. Alex sat in the corner of his dimly lit apartment, his eyes hollow and fixed on the mirror. The shadows that once played at the edges of his vision now moved openly, dark figures that whispered taunts and threats. The malevolent energy from the mirror had grown stronger, wrapping itself around him like a suffocating shroud. He had reached his breaking point. Sarah arrived, her face etched with concern. She had spent the last few days researching obsessively, determined to find a way to save Alex. She could see the toll the mirror had taken on him, his once vibrant spirit now reduced to a shell of fear and despair. "Alex, we need to act now," Sarah said, kneeling beside him. "I found a ritual that might break the curse. But we need to understand more about this mirror and why it's affecting you so deeply." Alex nodded weakly, his mind too weary to argue. Together, they pored over Sarah's research, piecing together fragments of the mirror's dark history. They discovered that the plantation owner, who had possessed the mirror, was involved in dark rituals designed to trap and torment souls. But there was more, a hidden connection to Alex's past that neither of them had anticipated. One evening, while sifting through old documents, Sarah stumbled upon a faded photograph. It showed a group of people standing in front of the plantation house, their faces solemn. At the center of the group was a man who looked strikingly similar to Alex. "Alex, look at this," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "This man, he could be your twin." Alex stared at the photograph, a sense of recognition dawning. "That's my great-grandfather," he whispered. "I remember seeing this picture in family's old album." "But what does this mean?" They dug deeper, uncovering the shocking revelation. Alex's great-grandfather had been involved in the plantation owner's dark rituals. He had tried to break free from the malevolent influence, but had ultimately failed, leaving a legacy of torment that now haunted Alex. "This is why the mirror is affecting you so strongly," Sarah said, her voice filled with urgency. "It's connected to your family's past. Breaking this curse might be our only chance." Determined to end the nightmare, they prepared for the ritual. Sarah gathered the necessary items: candles, herbs, and a protective circle drawn with salt. Alex felt a flicker of hope amidst the overwhelming dread. Together, they began the ritual, chanting the incantations they had found. As the ritual progressed, the room grew colder, and the shadows seemed to gather, drawn towards the mirror. The air crackled with tension, and Alex felt a tug at his very soul. He looked into the mirror, and for the first time, saw not just the horrors of his past, but the faces of those who had been trapped by its curse, his great-grandfather among them. With a final, desperate push, Alex and Sarah completed the ritual. The mirror's surface shimmered and then cracked, a spider web of fractures spreading across the glass. The shadows recoiled, and the oppressive weight lifted. Alex collapsed to the floor, exhaustion overtaking him, but for the first time in months, he felt a glimmer of peace. The mirror lay shattered, its power broken. Sarah knelt beside him, tears of relief in her eyes. "We did it, Alex," she whispered. "It's over." But as they would soon discover, Some curses leave scars that even broken glass cannot erase. The journey to reclaim their lives was just beginning, but they had faced the darkness together and emerged stronger for it. Chapter 6. Confronting the Mirror. The shattered mirror lay on the floor, its pieces glinting ominously in the dim light of Alex's apartment. The ritual had weakened its power, but Alex could feel its malevolent presence, lingering, waiting. He knew the final confrontation was inevitable. "Are you ready for this?" Sarah asked, her voice steady but filled with concern. Alex nodded, his resolve hardening. "I have to finish this. For my great-grandfather, for myself." They had learned that, to fully break the curse, Alex needed to confront the mirror one last time, to face his deepest fears and the dark legacy of his family. Alex gathered the broken pieces of the mirror and arranged them in a circle, preparing for the final showdown. As he stood before the mirror, the room seemed to grow darker, the air thick with anticipation. The mirror's fragments began to glow, and a cold wind swept through the apartment. Shadows emerged from the glass, forming into figures that surrounded Alex. They whispered his fears and regrets, their voices a cacophony of torment. The mirror's power surged, and Alex was pulled into a whirlwind of memories. He saw the accident again, felt the guilt and despair wash over him. But this time, the mirror went deeper, showing him moments from his childhood times when he felt alone, misunderstood, and afraid. The mirror was relentless, attacking his psyche with everything it had. "Alex, remember why you're doing this," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness. Summoning his courage, Alex faced the shadows. He acknowledged his guilt and fear, but he refused to let them define him. "I'm more than my mistakes," he declared, his voice strong and unwavering. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." The shadows recoiled, and the mirror's glow intensified, blinding him with its light. Alex felt a surge of energy, a connection to his great-grandfather and the other souls trapped by the mirror's curse. He realized that breaking the curse wasn't just about defeating the mirror, it was about accepting his past and forgiving himself. With newfound strength, Alex reached out and touched the largest fragment of the mirror. The glass felt warm, pulsing with a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. He closed his eyes, focusing on the love and support of his friends, on his own determination to move forward. A wave of energy erupted from the mirror, shattering the remaining pieces into dust. The shadows dissipated, and the room was filled with a brilliant light. When the light faded, the mirror was gone, and Alex stood in the center of the circle, feeling a profound sense of peace. Sarah rushed to his side, her eyes shining with relief. "You did it, Alex. It's over." Alex smiled, a weight lifting from his shoulders. "No, we did it. Thank you for standing by me." In the days that followed, Alex began to rebuild his life. He found solace in his photography, capturing moments of beauty and resilience. The experience had left scars, but it had also given him a deeper understanding of himself and his strength. The mirror's curse had forced Alex to confront his darkest fears, but in doing so, he had found a path to redemption and self-acceptance. He had learned that the power of choice, the courage to face one's inner demons, and the support of true friends could overcome even the most insidious of evils. Chapter 7. Aftermath. The days following the final confrontation with the mirror were a blur of exhaustion and relief. Alex and Sarah spent hours talking, piecing together their experiences and trying to make sense of the ordeal. The apartment felt lighter, as if a dark cloud had been lifted, but the scars of their encounter with the mirror's malevolent power remained. Alex found himself reflecting on his journey. The mirror had forced him to confront the darkest parts of his past, but in doing so, it had also given him a chance to heal. He began to sift through old photographs, not just of the accident, but of happier times. Each picture told a story, a reminder that his life was more than just his mistakes. Sarah, ever supportive, stayed by his side. They spent evenings reminiscing about their childhood, sharing stories and laughter. The bond between them grew stronger, forged in the crucible of their shared nightmare. One afternoon, as they walked through a quiet park, Alex felt a sense of closure. The fresh air and the sound of children playing brought a sense of normalcy that had been missing for so long. He turned to Sarah, his expression one of quiet determination. "I need to visit my family's old home," he said. "I need to understand more about my great-grandfather and what happened." Sarah nodded, understanding the importance of this final step. Together, they drove to the old plantation house, now abandoned and overgrown. The air was thick with memories, both haunting and bittersweet. Alex felt a mix of apprehension and resolve as they approached the decaying structure. Inside, they found remnants of the past, old furniture, faded photographs, and remnants of the rituals that had once taken place. Alex stood in the center of the main room, the weight of history pressing down on him. He closed his eyes, feeling a connection to his ancestors and a sense of peace. "This place holds so much pain," he said quietly. "But it's also a part of who I am. Understanding it helps me move forward." Sarah placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone in this, Alex. We'll face it together." In the weeks that followed, Alex began to rebuild his life with a newfound sense of purpose. He poured his experiences into his photography, capturing images that spoke of resilience, healing, and the beauty of overcoming darkness. His work gained recognition, not just for its technical skill, but for the raw emotion it conveyed. Sarah remained a constant presence, their friendship deepening into something more profound. Together, they navigated the complexities of their shared trauma, finding strength in each other's support. As the sun set on a particularly peaceful evening, Alex stood on his apartment balcony, looking out at the city skyline. The mirror was gone, but its legacy lingered, a reminder of the darkness he had faced and the strength he had found within himself. He felt a sense of closure, but also an awareness that healing was an ongoing journey. In the quiet moments, Alex sometimes wondered if the mirror's influence truly ended with its destruction. Shadows still danced at the edge of his vision. Whispers occasionally drifted on the wind, but they no longer held power over him. They were echoes of the past, reminders of a battle fought and won. Alex knew that the journey to overcome fear and trauma was not a linear path, but a series of steps taken with courage and support. He was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that he had the strength to endure and the resilience to thrive. As he turned away from the balcony, he felt a sense of peace. The mirror's curse had been a dark chapter in his life, but it had also been a catalyst for profound change. Alex had faced his fears, embraced his past, and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future with a heart full of hope. Chapter 8: The Mirror's Legacy. The small town of Ashford, with its quiet streets and historic charm, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief as Alex and Sarah walked through its center. The ordeal with the mirror had changed them both, but they were determined to find hope and renewal in the aftermath. They decided to visit the local library, hoping to learn more about the mirror's origins. As they entered the grand old building, the air thick with the scent of aged paper and wood, they were greeted by the librarian, Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman with a keen interest in local history. "Ah, you're the ones who dealt with that cursed mirror," Mrs. Thompson said, her eyes twinkling with a mix of curiosity and sympathy. "I've heard whispers about your bravery. There's something you should see." She led them to a secluded corner of the library, where ancient tomes and dusty manuscripts were kept. Pulling out a leather-bound book, she opened it to a section detailing cursed objects and their histories. There, amidst the accounts of haunted dolls and bewitched jewelry, was a detailed account of the mirror. This mirror was one of many, created by a dark sorcerer, Mrs. Thompson explained. Each one was imbued with the power to trap and torment souls. Destroying one weakens the curse, but the others still exist. You've done a great service to this town by breaking its hold, but there's always a risk of another surfacing. Alex and Sarah exchanged a glance, the weight of this revelation settling over them. They had faced unimaginable horrors, but the possibility of more cursed objects hinted at a continuing battle against the dark. As they left the library, the sun setting behind the town's old buildings, Alex felt a mix of apprehension and resolve. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" he said, looking at Sarah. "We have," she replied, her voice steady. "And whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Back at Alex's apartment, they sat on the balcony, the night sky dotted with stars. The mirror's legacy was a reminder of the darkness they had faced, but it also symbolized their inner strength and resilience. They had confronted their fears, embraced their pasts, and emerged stronger. "We've been through hell, but we're still standing," Alex said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "I think we're going to be okay." Sarah nodded, her hand resting on his. "We will be. And if there are other cursed objects out there, we'll be ready." Town of Ashford, with its eerie charm and rich history, had been the backdrop for their harrowing journey. But it was also a place of renewal, where they could rebuild their lives and find peace. In the weeks that followed, Alex continued to pour his experiences into his photography, capturing moments of beauty and resilience. Sarah found solace in her research, delving into local folklore and uncovering stories of courage and hope. Together, they forged a path forward, their bond unbreakable. The mirror's influence had left scars, but it had also given them the strength to face the future with hope and determination. As they looked out over the town, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they had the power to overcome them. The final revelation of the mirror's legacy had left a mark, but it also served as a reminder of the enduring power of hope and resilience. Alex and Sarah were ready to embrace the future, knowing that they had the strength to confront whatever darkness might come their way. And so, in the quiet, atmospheric town of Ashford, amidst its eerie charm and rich history, their story continued a testament to the power of facing one's fears and the resilience needed to overcome them.